I tell them, don't you dare leave Mass early, because it's an insult to Almighty God. The first one we know that left the Last Supper early was Judas. It's called the Judas Shuffle. And again, I always tell people, again, because if you just leave Mass early, it shows you don't give a care about Jesus Christ. You just don't. You are more concerned about you and getting out into the parking lot and getting to get your breakfast or lunch. But to be with Jesus, come on. So I have never bought it. When I was here, everywhere I go, I just say, don't you insult God that way. Because Mass, we need the blessing. It's a whole thing. If you don't want to be bothered with the blessing, stay home. That's all. Like my biggest thing, don't sit there and think you're doing a God a favor because you come to Mass and you stay there till communion. You left. Oh, God bless you. If you're going to be a disciple of Jesus, be a disciple. If you don't want to be a disciple, then sit at home and pretend to do something else. But if you come, you need to come. And what must every Mass cost you? Your life. Why? Because every Mass cost Jesus his life. It's a life for a life. And so again, that was one of the very first things I ever said to my parish. Don't you, unless you have diarrhea running down your leg, don't ever walk out that door before the final blessing. Ever. Because it's an insult to God. And so when I said it, I says to them, don't you ever insult God in my presence. And to walk out that door is to insult God in my presence. So when we're called to love people, we're also called to challenge them to love more. That's why Jesus was hard on the Pharisees. And that's what we got to do. But we do that so they fall in love more. Not because they should already know better if they're coming to church every week. Mass is meant for disciples. Mass wasn't meant for the masses. Preaching was meant for the masses. But once a person comes to discipleship, that's why they come to Mass, and that's why they should want it to go longer, because they're already a disciple. But what happens is we tell people you have to go to Mass or you're going to hell. So you have people that only care about themselves and not going to hell, who go to church every week, not because they're in love with God. They want to do the least amount necessary so they can get into heaven one day. But like I say, you'll hate heaven anyway, because guess what? If you can't even spend an hour with Jesus every week, guess what heaven is? You're going to spend forever and ever 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 with Almighty God. So if you don't want to spend the full hour with him every week, you're going to hate heaven because you have to spend eternity with him. Just a thought.